This section is probably one of my favorite sections of Ministry Partnership, and it deals with partner care. And we're going to have an honest conversation about having the right attitude, the right heart towards your partners, and showing appreciation to your partners, and developing the strategies to help your partners move from being donors to being partners. And we're going to be talking about some principles, some strategies you can use to really engage your partners and involve them in the mission to which Christ has called you. I often use this example. If, I've been married to my wife for 20 years. If I never spoke to my wife for an entire year, and then suddenly at the end of the year show up with a big bouquet of roses, that's not really going to work very well. Our relationship isn't going to last long if the only time I ever engage with her every few months is I show up with a bunch of flowers. But so often missionaries treat their partners like that. They never say anything to their partners. They don't involve them. And at the end of the year, they arrive at their partner's place with a big bouquet of flowers in the form of testimonies and an amazing report back. And they expect partners to engage like that. And it just doesn't work like that. We need to involve our partners in the life of our ministry, involve them in what Christ is doing on the campuses or in the nations, so their hearts can be ignited with this vision that God has called you to. It's no good if we go to the nations, but we can't stay in the nations. If you go church planting or go to a campus ministry and your funds dry up, you're going to have to leave and come back. And that's not going to help anyone. That's not going to see this vision fulfilled. If we go, we must be able to stay. And today, in this video, we're going to be talking about some principles and strategies around building long-term sustainable support in the ministry. I want to encourage you again, and I've said this before, ministry partnership is a huge privilege. It is an immense honor to be able to be afforded the opportunity to live out the vision to which Christ has called you to, with a team of people who are praying for you, supporting you, and engaged with you in the ministry. So this topic is close to my heart, and we're going to just share some practical things in this video about how you can build similar strategies into your life and into your ministry. One of the things we often talk about is the difference between donors and partners, and we've covered it briefly in one of the other videos. But it's important you understand this. There is a big difference between a fundraising mindset and a partnership mindset. With fundraising, the goal is just to get the money. With fundraising, the basis of the relationship is the 200 or 300 rand that an individual is giving to you. With partnership, it's a lot more than that. With partnership, an individual has bought into the mission that Christ has called you to. With partnership, an individual is behind the vision of taking the gospel to the nations. The byproduct of that happens to be the 200 or the 300 rand. They happen to be contributing on a monthly basis. So this is a very important distinction to make, and it's a mindset you're going to have to challenge yourself in. Because if you stay in the fundraising mindset, you're going to face a number of challenges in your journey on ministry partnerships. So I want to encourage you, challenge your mindset, challenge your heart. I shared briefly the story of a young lady who was partnering with me and my wife when we were at campus ministries, and she lost her job, it was retrenched, and had to go back to her family, and we actually asked her to stop her partnership, and she said to us, the last amount that's going to come off my budget is her partnership with us. And that just showed what she was communicating there was she so loves the vision of campus ministries that it's not about the 200 or the 300 rand a month, that it's about the vision that Christ has called us to the nation. Raising funds is easy. Building partnership is more difficult. I often say that ministry partnership isn't hard. It's very hard. But raising your funds is easy. You can hit your financial target quite quickly. All you've got to have is a cause worthy enough to give to, and communicate the cause effectively enough for people to understand the importance of the cause, and people will give money to it. You can raise funds quite quickly, but building partnership takes 2 to 3 years, because that's the journey you take people on, from being donors to becoming partners. It's like pushing a car up a hill. When you push that car, you've got to really put your back into it. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes energy until you get to the top, and then you're going down the other side. And that's when partnership becomes really easy and a load of fun. It's when you get to the top and your partners have transitioned from being donors to being partners, where they really are engaging with you in this ministry to which Christ has called you. And that's when you just see such joy in partnership development. And so we're going to be covering some of these topics. We're going to be looking at, there's 4 principles, 4 things we need in place to make this work. You've got to have faith, and we've covered that in a number of the videos around giving a biblical defense for partnership. You've got to have the right support, and there's a whole video dedicated to support coaching and having someone come alongside you to disciple you and coach you in your ministry partnership. You need to have the right strategy, which is what we're talking about today, and then also having the right tools. Practically, you need some of the right communication tools and database tools and administrative tools to actually make this all work. And there is a whole video dedicated to some of these tools, and it is also available in the notes from the training. Before we go into a practical description or a practical strategy of what you can do on a day-to-day basis, I just want to highlight 3 different kinds of giving profiles we see here in Every Nation Southern Africa. So, and you can see from the giving profiles of different missionaries the kind of mindset they have. And these graphs are going to come up on the screen as I speak. So the first profile that we don't see that often, but you see it occasionally, is the one you see on the screen now, where an individual raises their support quite quickly and then it drops off. That's a classic example of someone who's got a specific fundraising project in mind. They don't see partnership or ministry partnership as a long-term sustainable support. It's just getting the money. And people raise their funds, they hit their target, they go back to their ministry assignment, and that's the end of their partnership. It drops off. That's not the most common graph we see. The second one is the most common graph, which is on the screen now. And this is a graph where, people hit their target, and then slowly over the year it drops off. And then at the end of the year, they have dropped below their target, and they have to go back out of their ministry assignment, back to raise their support or to increase their support in ministry partnership. And they raise their support again, only to hit their target. And then they let go ministry partnership. They go back to their ministry assignment, and the same thing happens again. Slowly their partnership drops off to the point that they have to go back out of their ministry assignment and back to raise support. This is a classic example of someone who sees their ministry partnership almost as a necessary evil. It's ministry partnership over there, and it's my ministry assignment over there. And they are only doing ministry partnership so that they can do their ministry assignment. This is the necessary evil so that I can do my campus ministries. And so whenever they hit their target, they're focusing on campus ministries. The problem is they've left all their ministry partnerships, their ministry partners aside, and slowly over time that partnership drops off, and they've got to go back and raise their support at the end of the year. Ministry partnership and your ministry assignment are one. It's one ministry. You have a new role or a new function in your ministry assignment. It's ministry partnership. They're not 2 separate things. So the giving graph we are looking for is the one that's on the screen now. And we see this with a number of staff in South Africa, where they raise their support and they hit their target, but then over time, that target remains consistent and even increases over time. This is a classic example of someone who has made the transition from a fundraising mindset to a partnership mindset. This is an example of someone who sees ministry partnership and their ministry assignment as one. It's not, I do my ministry partnership and there's my ministry assignment. They've merged the 2. They see their ministry partnership as a their ministry partners are a fundamental part of their missions team. They're part of their lives. They're part of their ministry assignment. And this is the goal we want to get to. We want each one of you to have a graph similar to the one on the screen there. So in this next section, I just want to give you a very practical example of a partner care strategy. And this is the one I actually do myself. Now, I'm not saying you must do what I'm doing. I want you to take the principles that we share here and apply it to your context. Now, I encourage you to do what we're about to present here because it's proven to work. But I want you to pick up the heart behind this. And I'm actually going to share with you what I do and have been doing for the last 10 years in my ministry partnership. And then you can take out the principles and apply it in your context or apply it to your life, however works for you. We do encourage you to give this strategy a try and see if it works for you. So I'll just practically share with you what I do on a daily basis in our ministry partnership. In this next section, I'm just going to unpack a practical strategy of what you can do on a day-to-day basis for ministry partnership. And I'm simply going to share what I personally do on a day-to-day basis and have been doing for the last 10 years. Now, I'm not saying you must go and do exactly what I'm going to share. My appeal is this: take the principles of what we're sharing, take the heart of what we're sharing, and apply it in your context and in your life. Now, I encourage you to try do this strategy because it's proven to work. But more importantly, take the principles, take the heart of what we're saying and apply it in your context in life. I do MPD every day. I do a bit of ministry partnership every single day of my life. I aim for 4 days a week, and I do that because it helps me avoid this separation between ministry partnership and my ministry assignment. Also, technology is available today to make this possible, to make it easy to connect with people on a regular basis. So I will share simply what I do on a day-to-day basis, and then you can take the principles out. So as I mentioned, I take out about 30 minutes, sometimes 40 minutes every single day. I generally mark out 8:30 to about 9:15 every single day. I choose that time because that's the time that most people are available. And this is time in work time. This is very important for us to get right. Ministry partnership is not something you do outside of work. This is my job. This is part of my job in every nation, is to succeed at ministry partnership. This is not something that needs to be done outside of work or in off hours. This is work time. We're paid to succeed at ministry partnership. So I do this during work. I take out time every day. I aim to do at least 4 days a week, okay? So if I do less than 4 days a week, I feel like I haven't really been faithful in my partnership. So I aim to do this 4 days a week. So here is practically what I do every single day for my ministry partnership. As I mentioned, I try to do this 4 days a week. If I do it less than 4 days a week, I feel like I haven't been faithful in stewarding these relationships. And I set aside 20 to 30 minutes every single day. And that 20 to 30 minutes is not outside of work. It's during work time. This is important. Part of my job and part of what I'm employed to do is succeed at ministry partnership. This is not something you do on the weekends or after hours. This is done during work time. I set aside 20 to 30 minutes every single day to engage my ministry partnership. And in that 20 to 30 minutes, I call 2 people, call 2 of my partners. Now, I've set all my partners up on a little cycle. So every 2 to 2.5 months, they come up for me to call and to speak to on the phone. We've got a system that'll help you do that. We've built a little app called Azuka that'll help you actually do all of this for you. But I aim to call 2 individuals in that 20 to 30 minutes. Sometimes I've got to make 3 to 4 phone calls in order to get a hold of 2 people. So I want to engage and talk to 2 people each time in that 20 or 30 minutes. In that phone call, it's not just some random phone call, how's the weather in Joburg, or, there is an intentionality behind this phone call. The first thing I do in that phone call is I follow up on previous prayer requests. So I will, and we'll cover that in a moment, but the last time I called them, I pray for them, I take note of what we prayed for, I'll follow up on whatever we prayed for. The second thing I do is I implement what I call my cycle strategy. So every time my partners come up, there's something specific I want to engage them with. So for example, you might want to find out how they came to Christ, find out a little bit more about their family. I remember one of my cycle strategies was we used to, a very long time ago, print and post our newsletters. And I wanted to move to email, and one of the conversations I had with my partners at this time was, how would you feel about getting an emailed newsletter? And 100% of them said they'd prefer an emailed newsletter. So we moved to email. Another cycle strategy, for example, was when I wanted to get all my partners onto the WhatsApp broadcast communication tool that we use, which I'll explain in a moment. That took about 8 months to get my partners all onto that process. But so essentially in the phone call, I follow up in previous prayer requests, I implement a cycle strategy. I then ask for prayer requests, and then I pray for them. Very, very, very important. I pray for my partners on the phone every single time. It changed our partnership completely. It radically changed the way our partners engage with us. that praying for them on the phone made such a huge difference in the life of our partners and our relationships with them. It's very, very important. In this phone call, you never, ever, 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 ever ask for anything. This is not a time to ask something of them. You want your partners to know when they call you, you're going to pray for them. This is not a time to be complaining to your partners or asking anything from them. Make a point of this being a time where you're ministering to them. A great example, one of my partners came up on his monthly call, and I called him, and as he answered, I heard he whispered. He was like, "Hold on, Andrew." And then I heard him say, "Guys, can we take a 5-minute break?" And he came out, and he was in the middle of a board meeting for his company. He put the entire board meeting on hold to take my call because he knew when he saw me calling, I was going to pray for him. And you don't want your partners to see you calling and not answer the call because they're wondering what you're going to ask of them this time. Let this be a moment where you pray for them and minister to them. So I take out 20, 30 minutes. I call to people. I've told you what we do in the call. And then I follow up I do a little bit of administration after that. So for example, I immediately record my prayer requests, things we prayed for. If I was chatting to the husband, I will message the wife what we prayed about. If I was chatting to the wife, I messaged the husband what we were praying about. So I've come to a place in our partnership where I'm comfortable to talk to both the husband and the wife. But the reason I send the messages to both, if I've prayed for the husband, I want the wife to know we've been praying for them. I want them both involved. And so that's an important part of that process. And then I record the conversations. In my little database I've got conversations going right back to 2003. I shared briefly in one of the other videos about a partner who phoned me about 2 months ago when his son turned 13, and I said to him on the phone, "Do you remember what we prayed for the day your son was born?" We went back to the record, and I opened up the record and I said, "On this day we spoke, the day your son was born, and we prayed about this." And he said to me he remembers the prayer. And that's 13 years later. I mean, you talk about the relationships and the time together. That's why ministry partnership is such a privilege. It's such an honor. And it's important to take time to build these relationships. So that gives you a brief idea of what I do day to day in my ministry partnership. And I do it daily so that it's part of my life. It's part of my ministry. It's become a habit in my life. It's just part of what I do every single day. And it helps bring together this ministry assignment and ministry partnership. Some of the other tools I use on top of that daily strategy is we successfully use the WhatsApp broadcast feature. So all my partners are on a WhatsApp broadcast, and I send out regular pictures, videos, encouragements every single week. Lots of micro communication. We've just found the engagement to be really high. When we send out videos and pictures and testimonies on WhatsApp, the engagement is just really, really high as opposed to our monthly or quarterly newsletters. We just found the communication over WhatsApp very high. Now, the challenge with the WhatsApp broadcast, it did take time to set up. So, for example, in one of my phone call strategies, we had to help partners get this set up because WhatsApp won't deliver the message, for example, to the person if your number is not in their address book. So it took me a bit of time to make sure that both husband and wife had our number stored in their address book for the WhatsApp broadcast to work. But that is a tool we rely on heavily for communication and sharing stories and testimonies. We also remember important events in our partners' life, birthdays, anniversaries, special moments. You just want to take note of those. You might want to put a reminder on your database. Now, the database we do suggest you use has all these features built into it. You also want to take time to invite your partners to various banquets and conferences. Make sure that you invite them to various events happening in the life of your ministry and in every nation. I regularly share some of the messages that come from some of the podcasts from every nation. I share them on the WhatsApp broadcast to the partners, just to involve them in the life, not just of our ministry assignment, but also involve them in what is going on in every nation as a whole around the world. And it all adds to this journey of helping partners move from being donors to being partners. So just in summary, here's some of the principles that you need to look out for in building your partner care strategy. Number one, be consistent. Diligently implement your strategy. I can't stress this enough. And for the first month or two, yes, it can be a bit difficult, but once you've been doing it for a month or two, it becomes quite easy. Just that's part of your day. That 20, 30 minutes that you do MPD every day, it just becomes part of your life. Be consistent and be diligent in it. Be regularly, make your contact with your partners regular. I use that example of the bouquet of flowers. Don't find yourself in a situation where you haven't communicated with your partners for a whole year and you show up at the end of the year with a big bouquet of testimonies and pictures trying to keep your partners on. It's too late if you're doing that. Be consistent and deliberate and diligent in your partnership on a daily basis. Communicate with people effectively. I often say that you've effectively communicated with someone when they understand what you're trying to say the way you understand it. It doesn't mean they have to agree with you, but at least they understand something the way you understand it. That's when you've communicated effectively. And I encourage you, communicate your stories, communicate your ministry effectively to your partners. Use videos, use testimonies, use pictures. I mean, having guys on a WhatsApp broadcast makes it so easy to quickly share a picture, a video, a story, a testimony. And we have found that lots of micro communication seems to get more engagement than less frequent macro communication. We've just found that to be true in our case. Be intentional with your communication. Look for opportunities to share stories and share stories of other missionaries. If there's been an amazing story in another nation of what's been happening and what God's been doing in another nation, share that with your partners. Next one, be grateful. Be grateful. Always be thankful. Try every single time you engage with your partners. Say thank you. Express gratitude. There's something about gratitude that opens up someone's heart. And if you see this ministry partnership as a begrudging evil, you're going to find it difficult to show gratitude and to be thankful. So at all times, be gracious, be honoring, be respectful, show gratitude, be thankful to your partners for being a part and being a vital part of the team that you have executing your ministry assignment. Next principle, show that you care. Look for opportunities to express appreciation personally to your partners. Remember their birthdays, remember their anniversaries. Get to know the children. I'm not saying you have to get to know the children really well. I think you need to decide that on a case-by-case scenario. But just show people that you care. Invite them to special moments. Involve them in your personal life. Let your partners get to know you personally. Send them pictures of you and your family. Build a relationship with them. But just look for opportunities to show that you care. Pray with your partners. Pray regularly with your partners. Look for every opportunity you can to pray. I think that's quite simple, but it has a huge impact on people's lives. And even if it's a voice note, you're sharing with partners, hey, just praying for you today or thinking of you in this challenging situation you're facing. I shared with you the story of the individual that he partnered with us for 300 Rand and then we prayed and immediately he changed to 500 Rand. Just praying with people sincerely. Don't say, I'll pray for you and then not pray for them. I think the best remedy for that is just pray for them right then and there. Pray frequently for your partners. If the Lord lays something in your heart for them, share the message with them. As I've said before, and I just want to repeat this here, involve your partners in the life, not just of your ministry, but of every nation as a whole. Invite them to various conferences, the Build Conference, World Conference. Look for opportunity, bring them into banquets or whatever, celebration moments. Involve your partners in the life of the ministry, not just your personal ministry, but remember the broader ministry as well, because the more they're exposed to this global ministry, the more their heart ignites for what Christ has called us to do across the world. Finally, maintain a database of your partners. This is an administrative component. It's a very important component. Keep record of your partners, what you've spoken about. As I say, I've got a little database and I can track prayer requests going right back to 2003 of things I've prayed for my partners. And just keep that record, and it's an important aspect. And we've got tools in that we provide to help make this really easy. In conclusion to this video, just remember, ministry partnership is a ministry. It's a ministry to a team of incredible people that God has added to your vital missions team to see the vision that He's called you fulfilled. And remember, it's a journey. It's a journey you're on. It's a journey they're on. And you are going to be amazed at what God does in and through you. Remember, it's Him who calls you. and He will provide all the necessary resources to execute the vision to which He's called you. And He's added incredible men and women to your team to help see that dream come true.